Hey guys, J-Tan here for another episode of UFC AfterShow on AfterBuzz TV. We're talking UFC 197, Return of the King, and the Mighty Mouse is in the house. It's myself and Gigi here. Are you guys ready? Live from North Hollywood, it's time to talk fights.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome back once again, fight fans. J-Tan here, and my co-pilot here, Gabriel Gonzalez. We're here to talk about the fights that went down last night. Mandalay Bay, I'm sorry, not Mandalay Bay, MGM Event Center. Over 11,000, almost 11,500 people for 2.3 million gate. Jon Jones versus Ovince St. Preux for the interim UFC light heavyweight title. Also, just beneath that, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson defending his flyweight title against Henry Cejudo. Two of the best pound-for-pound fighters right now on the planet. On the same card right there in the City of Sin. What do you make of it, Gigi?
Well, you know, what's crazy about that is that, you know, who is the best pound-for-pound fighter right now currently in the UFC? I mean, that now is suddenly a big question. Both of them performed so well. From top to bottom, it was a good card. I like, you know, we had some stoppages, we had some fun decisions. I think it was a great night for the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I should mention, too, looks like our chief cornerman, Joe Boza, is not in the chat room. Maybe he's out making weight. He's cutting weight or something. But we do have a special guest coming in before too long. Unless I believe we have him on here. Smiling Sam Alvey, are you there?
I'm here. Good to hear from you guys.
Likewise, my friend. What's going on, Smiling One?
Not too much. I'm just up in the north woods of Wisconsin. My buddy fought last night, and I'm just waiting on my ride to the airport.
Oh, okay. How'd he do?
He won rear naked choke round 2.
Nice.
Excellent. Good work there. Was it a pro or an amateur show?
It was King of the Cage, so there's some amateur. He was one of the pros.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Jordan Winsky, yeah, 6-1 or 7-1 now at 135. So he'll be challenging not too long for the title.
I was going to say, it sounds like that maybe some yeah, let me try that again. It sounds like that's going to be a name for us to watch in the future, yeah?
Yeah, it's Jordan. I'm gonna Winsky.
I'm gonna Nice.
I love it.
When it comes to great nicknames, that's
half the battle getting into the UFC, I feel like, lately.
Is a good nickname?
You gotta stand out any way you can. They're all in the Reebok shorts now. You gotta stand out somehow. Sam, I've seen your videos. We're gonna get into that soon, but you're obviously, you know, you got the memo. We could see that.
Yeah, I'm trying. I gotta make everyone else see it too. Yeah, I'm doing everything I can.
Well, you've got a fight coming up in mid-June, June 18th. In it's Ottawa, correct?
Yeah, yes, sir. Hell of a card too. It's that Wonder Boy versus McDonald. It's such a cool main event.
Mm-hmm. Yourself
I'll be on the main card, so there should be a mess of people that see it.
Yourself and the pretty one, Elias. How do you say his last name? Torodillo, right? Teodoru. My apologies, Elias. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But any thoughts from yourself, Sam? You caught at least some of the highlights of last night, I believe.
Yeah,
correct?
I read most of everything. I watched as many highlights as I could. My buddy was fighting, so I couldn't watch it. But I lost $40 on the main event.
Ooh, you were figuring for an upset, huh?
I just thought it was there, and it was such a big underdog. $40 would have got me like $240 or something.
Yeah, yeah, playing the odds there.
Jones doesn't like getting hit, and Jones doesn't react well when the other guy has a long reach also.
Mm-hmm.
Ovince, he's got a long reach, and he hits pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I just thought maybe Ovince would be able to touch him.
Well, let's run down I'm going to run down the card real quickly, and then also speaking of playing the odds there, obviously Jon Jones defeating Ovince St. Preux by unanimous decision across the board. Demetrius Johnson, one of the only stoppages of the main card of the night, and certainly a fantastic finish, defending defiantly against Henry Cejudo, that a lot of people thought was going to be his toughest opponent today. Edson Barboza over Anthony Pettis, Robert Whittaker over Rafael Natal, Yair Rodriguez finishing Andre Fili in the second with a gorgeous flying head kick. Other guys that came out on top last night in the undercard: Sergio Pettis over Chris Kalades, Danny Roberts over Dominic Steele, Carla Esparza making her return back over Juliana Lima, James Vick over Glacio Franca, Walt Harris defeating and a bit upsetting Cody East, who was a guy that was featured on Looking for a Fight, UFC's Dana's traveling reality show there. Marcos Rogerio de Lima over Clint Hester, the head bossa, and Kevin Lee over Efrain Escudero, which was a little bit of a surprise for me. Efrain, he's been around for a long time. A lot of big things were expected from him, and a mixed bag. He's had his fair share of up and downs there.
It has been, I think one of the things that's really tough for Efrain is, he has all the hype of being one of the Ultimate Fighter winners, but we've seen, as the UFC has grown, as MMA has grown, it's still very, how to put it, it's notable, it's not a small feather in your cap, but it isn't always necessarily the biggest unsigned talent that you've just never seen on the Ultimate Fighter, and I feel like Efrain, he had to live up to that expectation, as MMA is growing and as the competition has just, gotten steeper.
Yeah, it's kind of a lesson. You guys like Cody East, who was featured on Dana's show, or Efrain Escudero, when you get to the UFC, you still got to show and prove, just because there's a name behind you, or a buzz behind you, pardon the pun. You still got to show and prove, and sometimes it goes the right way, sometimes it doesn't for everybody.
And I think the biggest example we have right now, CM Punk. There's no bigger name that people are still. There's no bigger UFC fighter who hasn't had a fight yet. I think in their history. So I think that's a big deal. It isn't just about the promotion. You do have to show up on fight night and you have to deliver.
Yeah. Did you? Are you tracking any of this? I was thinking about I was thinking about you last night, actually, Sam. The middleweights, Robert Whitaker and Rafael Natal. Either of those guys on your radar?
I've already got him all planned out. He and I were going to coach opposing tough seasons. It'll be America versus Australia again.
Nice. Okay.
I like
that's the plan. I mean, it's my plan. I don't know if he knows about it.
So my
we'll
question.
Make it happen one way or another.
Right. So do you think that the fact that he won his tough season as opposed to yourself, do you think that's just not going to matter when it comes to fight night?
No, shoot. I've already beaten. Pretty much everyone I've beaten in the UFC has been a tough guy. Cesar won tough. Andrew Kelly or
Dan Kelly.
Dan Kelly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dylan Andrews and Daniel Kelly. They were both tough. This next one against Elias, he won Canada tough. I was just in the wrong season. The 170 was too small for me.
You cut down. Yeah, I mean that's come to think of it. Yeah, you cut down to make that season.
The UFC calls, you say yes. I'm thankful they didn't want me to make 55 because I would have said yes.
You would have gone for it, huh?
Yeah, I would have dived head first.
There you go.
Well, okay, so let's talk about last night. A lot of decisions across the board, and this was kind of my little beef or kind of I felt like a little bit of a letdown that there wasn't more. There was a lot of decisions. The action was still good, and I should mention too, fight of the night was an undercard fight. It was Danny Roberts and Dominic Steele, which I thought was very fair. That was a great sloppy scrap.
Yeah.
Performance bonuses went to Demetrius Johnson, which is just completely
Deserved.
Undeniable. Yeah, and Yair Rodriguez with his KO in the second. It's funny because I oftentimes think that the performance bonus, it's almost like a scientific judgment where if it's in the second, shouldn't necessarily, like if you've got a guy that finished in the first, or if you got two guys that finished in the first, why would you give it to somebody that went to the second? Like that, the time itself would delineate that should be.
You almost expect also it was probably a bigger drop if they get him in the first, but no, Yair Rodriguez, man, that was a beautiful. What is it? Jumping, it's a jumping kick. I thought it was a knee at first, but no, you know what? Just beautiful from that young kid. I mean, he's obviously still green. What I loved about his game, I know about you, Jay. I love seeing that. You know what? He's incorporating takedowns already. He knows as the other guys are waiting for those kicks, I like seeing that, you know what, he's looking to, diversify his game. I think that's going to make him very dangerous. If he starts bringing some hands to complement those kicks,
right,
I'm excited to see that young guy fight again.
Kicks were part of the storyline last night, especially also in the Anthony Pettis and Edson Barbosa match, which was just another kick fest.
Oh yeah,
seemed like constantly, and frankly the main event as well. Bones and OSP. Bones was using a lot of kicks there.
Although, you know what, yeah, that was. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of his performance, but definitely the oblique kicks, the side kicks, the spinning back kicks, the things he's known for, those were on point, but definitely going back to Pettis Barbosa, that it was a stylistic one for me. I think Barbosa, we saw he was more compact. Pettis, as usual, he was very loose, and I think that just came down to the style of Barbosa that really won out against the former champion.
It seemed like it was Barbosa's night. Pettis could not get off. He, like you said, he was loose, but for some bizarre reason wasn't the output wasn't there. The throwing. I thought Barbosa looked just as loose and in control as well. He tended to fight long, especially with those kicks.
Yeah.
So it felt like a bit of on paper it's an even match, but I don't think it played out that way.
Definitely didn't. One of the things with Barbosa, as far as a compact, he keeps everything, he throws everything from the chamber. He always brings those hands right back, and I think that's made him susceptible to, some more grapplers in the past. But what we saw with Pettis, he was trying to set up, the big flashy kicks. They just weren't there, and when those weren't landing, he also didn't have as much activity, and I think that's what allowed Barbosa. He found his mark with the left hooks. They alluded to that during the broadcast. His kicks were obviously the kicks to the inside of the thigh. We put a lot of attention on, the outer thigh kicks, a la Jose Aldo. Barbosa just made that one ugly after the fight. We saw Pettis lift up his shorts, and, we could see why, But Pettis, his best round was the third where, he was loose, he was throwing more, but it was just too little too late at that point.
Yeah. Sam, you are, I'm guessing you didn't get a chance to catch that match, but correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it. I watched the highlights. I read the play-by-play after.
Okay. The reason I asked, though, vis-a-vis facing guys that are taller and lankier, what's a keynote like for you? What's kind of one of the first things that comes to mind when dealing with guys like that use their range really well? I mean, you've dealt with some taller guys, some bigger guys. I mean, I know you're about the right size for or a typical size for a middleweight, but guys like Dan Kelly, I feel might have been a bit bigger than you. Maybe was Dylan Andrews? He was at least close to your size, or I believe your size.
Dylan Andrews was taller than me. Dan Kelly was a little shorter than me.
Okay.
Yeah, but the biggest part is you just have to get used to it. More times than not, I'm the taller fighter. I typically have the longer reach. So if I'm fighting a guy that has a longer reach, it really is frustrating during the fight. I have to find training partners that can beat me like that. And that's hard sometimes. That's just a physical thing that somebody's got to be able to. They've got to be good enough to hang with me, to push me, but they also have to have a longer reach than me, and it's hard to find sometimes.
Between Whitaker and Natal, which either of those guys are you looking at? Would you prefer to face?
Eventually Whitaker. He's the top 10 guy. He's just crushing people.
Yeah.
That will be a fight that happens. Like I said, I intend on finding a way to coach it tough against him, and build it up that way, because I think it would be a lot of fun, and he'd be my ticket back to Australia.
You just like the accent, don't you?
Oh, I love the accent. Oh, hey, that's not a knife. This is a knife.
That's a knife. That's not a kick. This is a head kick. Whitaker in that match against Natal pushed the action a lot. I thought that, Natal was landing with those kicks. Joe Rogan he was working the outside thighs, you were alluding to, between the inside and the outside, and that was super red. Like, that was marked up much more evidently than Pettis' leg. But it shocked me and sold me, more so with Whitaker and his toughness. He was not selling that thing. It did not look like it was affecting him at all, He just kept pushing the action. I think he threw... I normally threw a flying head kick of his own in the second.
Definitely. No, definitely. What I think it came down to was, he was going. I think when he felt that adrenaline pumping, when he felt the momentum in the fight, we saw that he wasn't going to give it up. I wouldn't be surprised if he woke up this morning and he had to ask his coach to bring a wheelchair to get him to the airport.
Yeah.
But during the fight, I think he knew that he was landing more, and that if he'd let up, that's when Natal was probably going to find that takedown that they alluded to. So I think he did a great job, like you said, working through it, just keep pushing. I think that Natal also slowed down toward the later rounds. So that helped Whitaker a lot too. He came in great shape.
Right. What stood out to you overall in the card? Besides what you were talking about Danny Roberts and Dominic Steele. Of course, Danny came out ahead with the
decision.
The UD. I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. What, 28-29 across the board, I believe, or 29-28.
That one, you know what? When I was watching it, part of me felt like Steele was getting just a little. He just seemed to have more heavy shots. I feel like when they showed the replay, I felt like that was reasserting that, I think this guy Steele is ahead. But when I run it back, it was just a good scrap. It was a close fight, but I have no problem with the decision. It's one of those, when you watch it back, you know what? I was wrong. It did go to Danny Roberts.
Dominic dropped Danny early in the first. Danny was working for a takedown, and you saw a takedown. Sorry, no, he was working for a triangle right off his bat when he got dropped. And a couple of times, Dominic and Danny were in that position where he was. Dom basically was kind of in the Rampage Arona position and picked up Danny and slammed him down a few times. Yeah. Not nearly to the same effect or the same height as Rampage on Ricardo Arona, but between that and a couple of great scrambles, that was enough for me to give him the first. But the second and third, Danny took over. I didn't have too much of a problem with that match. Yeah. Let's talk about Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. First of all, okay, so we'll talk about the match first. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, Henry Cejudo, gold medalist from Olympic gold medalist, from Beijing. I think that was 2008, I believe.
2008,
yeah. Undefeated. Professed to be the toughest challenge. A lot of experts were saying the toughest challenge for DJ. DJ comes out and has no problem whatsoever. Both guys seemed to like the clinch. DJ liked it a whole lot better. It was clinch and knees until
he got it.
DJ saw the opening, heard him, pushed him back, and just went to town and finished him on the ground with rights. What do you make of that match?
I tweeted at DJ's coach and I asked him, what do you call that strategy? He told me the mousetrap.
Wait,
I'm just messing with you.
Matt Hume is not on Twitter. Matt Hume is a lot of things, but I guarantee you he's not on Twitter, although he should be.
Yeah, I was holding on to that joke all day. No, you know what? Mighty Mouse Johnson, I mean, you know what can you say? It was, for as quick a fight as it was, we really saw what makes him such a special athlete, Yeah. We obviously saw his stand-up, throwing the knees, just how diverse it is. Mm-hmm. But on the ground, Cejudo, look, he's a bigger flyweight. I think he's the biggest guy out there when you see the height difference between him and Mighty Mouse. Mm-hmm. We saw Mighty Mouse, he wasn't worried. He got taken down. It looked like he didn't even have to take a breath. He looked at his coach. He looked at Cejudo, pushed him right off, and, he defended the takedown the rest of the fight. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we saw his activity, once again, back to the striking. I think it's just, he proved it last night, I was thinking, if Cejudo pulls off the upset, that makes things interesting. But after last night, flyweight Demetrius Johnson, you're done. He's dropped the mic. He hasn't just dominated the top 10. He's lapped the field, Jay. I think he's been...
That's a good way of putting it.
Joseph Benavidez beat him twice. John Dodson beat him twice. Both of them. The rematch, he was even more dominant.
Yeah.
You know what? Look, they say, you know, with time, there's gonna be a new guy. Some new guy's gonna knock someone out, submit someone. There's gonna be this buzz. Exactly. I like that one.
That's I know I put this on what the heck? Sorry, guys. That was always going to happen at some point in this thing.
Should have just run with it. He was like Godzilla out there.
There's something funky going on with my phone because it's operating in ways it shouldn't. I had mute on and all that good stuff. Very bizarre. So let's talk about this. I want to get opinion from both of you guys. Mighty Mouse Johnson and Johnny Bones Jones both looked fantastic last night. Who is the pound for pound best?
Do you want to go first, Sam?
Yeah, but I wouldn't pick either of those guys.
Uh-oh.
Would you pick yourself?
I was going to say, is Smiling Sam Alvey the pound for pound best?
No, not yet.
And we just don't realize it yet.
No, I personally, I think if you're going pound for pound, you need to have fought in more than one weight class. Otherwise, it's a useless title. So it's for me, Frankie Edgar is nominated. Cowboy now, he's got, 2 fights at 170? Benson was on that list till he got destroyed at 170 the other day. So he's still on the list. Anderson Silva, another guy he's fought. Dan Henderson, he's fought, 4 different weight classes against the best in the world and won in all 4.
True.
If they keep saying pound for pound, but you've got to back it up and you got to fight out of your weight class for that to happen.
Now he has though. Down. DJ fought at 135. He had a good run at WEC, and then into the UFC. I'm just a quick look here. He's lost to Dominic Cruz when he got his title match in 2011.
And then Brad Pickett randomly.
Brad Pickett was his opening match, or his first match in WEC, and went to decision there. But other than that, he defeated Nick Pace, Damasio Page, Norifumi Kid Yamamoto, Miguel Angel Torres. But between those two losses,
at the time, those guys were elite level guys too. I mean, I know they've fallen off the radar, but at the time, those were big fights too for Mighty Mouse.
Creme de la creme there.
Yeah, I gotta give you credit. You know what? Pound for pound. You know what? Hey, take it seriously. Pound for pound. I think the one thing that I would take away from that is that, you know what, one welterweight or one light heavyweight is not like the other when jumping weight classes. So yeah, Anderson Silva, guys like Dan Henderson, you know, not all their moves at light heavyweight or what have you when they jumped were against maybe the cream of the crop, but Demetrius Johnson, you know, he has fought the top 10, top 5 for the last 2 or 3 years at both weight classes, at flyweight and bantamweight. So I'd give him the credit on that.
Anderson Silva fought Forrest Griffin. Forrest Griffin's first fight out of a title. Anderson fought for a title in every weight class.
Yeah, and James Irvin was no joke when he met him there too. Yeah,
but he still fought friggin' Fedor, so that's almost a title shot.
But do you in pound for pound? I'm curious. Let me hear your definitions first, because I feel like, and I had this debate with a friend last night on what defines pound for pound. He was saying that DJ is not pound for pound the best because he doesn't have what did he say, the power and some other criteria, power and strength, I think, compared to somebody like a Jones or a Kane. To me, pound for pound is that you're taking weight out of the equation and you're putting these guys hypothetically on an even keel basis across the board. If they were all the same size, and they were able to keep their qualities, their strengths, and weaknesses and characteristics, then who is the best there?
Definitely. You know, I agree. It's pound for pound, you know, it's what makes it that, you know, ideal bar talk conversation because, you know, could Mighty Mouse beat a guy like Fabricio Verdum if he had his qualities and he was a heavyweight? Who knows? You know, that would be very entertaining, though. The fact is, I think, you know, like we said, you know, all things equal, you know, could one fighter beat another guy at their weight class or vice versa? I think you have to give Mighty Mouse his credit. When I see him, I gotta say he reminds me of St. Pierre, but with the ability to finish. In the fact that he's so great in all different areas, and he uses his style. You don't know if he's gonna take you down or use his striking, but he can do both. And on any given night, he will use both, not just necessarily one, and stick with it if it's convenient. So I give Mighty Mouse the credit that he's technically great all around. Mm-hmm. Would that translate against the power of, say, a guy like a Conor McGregor or like, one of the bigger heavy hitters, Rafael dos Anjos? That's where the argument comes in. Would it matter? Should it matter? So it is a good question, but you can't deny that the all-around skills, it's tough to find in any weight class.
What's your take, Sam? How do you define pound for pound, besides fighting in different weight classes?
See, I don't think it'd be fair to put them all on the same thing, because, of course, if there was a heavyweight that could move as fast as Mighty Mouse, that heavyweight would be the great.
Damn.
Right, and vice versa. If there's a little guy that could punch as hard as Dos Santos, of course, he would be unstoppable. Mm-hmm. For me, you've got to compete outside of your weight class. You've got to be able to compete. And Johnson, I can't deny he is probably the best champion, the most dominant champion in UFC. Anderson's probably still number one, but Demetrius is still a notable mention. He's maybe number two. Right now, he is the most powerful champion or the most dominant champion. Mm-hmm. The only one that you could argue with is Jones, and Jones isn't the champion right now.
Do you take into consideration also who is the competition at the time that these guys are reigning champs? Because I've heard that argument vis-a-vis Ronda, and wow, she didn't. The women's the women's division wasn't really much, so she didn't really defeat anybody great. Whereas Jones did, and Anderson as well, that kind of thing. Does that come into play at all, or no?
For pound, you know what? I think it would, but honestly, the only weak division in the UFC is the women's division. So I think.
But it's still.
If you look at the studs that are
growth.
125 or 135 or 155, the technically sound experts of their craft that they are. Mm-hmm. The women's division is still. I say it to everyone. It still reminds me more of like UFC 1, 2, 3, where everyone has kind of their style. Ronda, the best fighter in the world, doesn't know how to throw a punch. And that's
not at all.
And then Holly Holmes.
You're calling her out like that?
I call her out all the time. I thought she was garbage. I too.
Yeah.
I always have, and I couldn't understand why girls kept trying to clinch with her. She tore through the division, and she fought eight UFC girls or 5 UFC girls, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And their plan, all of them, was to go and clinch with her. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. Holly Holm, the first girl that had any sort of strategy, just outboxed her. Didn't even use MMA, just boxed her and then eventually kicked her.
Nothing in the Betch Correia fight impressed you either?
What's that?
Nothing in the Betch Correia fight impressed you? Striking wise? No.
Really nothing about. No, it was a terrible punch she threw. That was the Brazilian gal that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, it went down quick.
It was a terrible punch. It was she kind of plowed into her with her chin up and her hands down. She looked like a drunk. just throwing hands. She landed, and I always tell my amateurs that a bad punch that lands is a great punch. I said, don't be afraid to throw a bad one. Try not to, but if you do throw a bad kick, throw it with all you got, because if it lands, it turns into a great kick.
That's a voice of experience right there. I like it. That's why you're in the UFC and we're at the desk, man. That's some sage advice right there, straight out of Greg Jackson or somebody like that. I don't know if you could say that she beat 8 of the top girls by essentially bad strategy. So I don't know if I can buy into that. I will admit that Ronda has made it look sometimes too easy. So I'm open to that argument. But it's definitely it is worth noting. We're talking pound for pound, the level of competition.
I just think that in general, though, when you look at the MMA landscape. 99% of the top fighters in the world, or at least high 90s, are in the UFC, and present company included, Sam, Smiling Sam.
Yeah.
And to that end, regardless of how strong a division is or isn't, like how its strength is based on who's in there, obviously, and that it may not be the most exciting or most technically sound or biggest or strongest division people in there, but they're the best for that weight class and that gender. And to that end, I don't think that it's unrealistic to still have Ronda in that pound for pound conversation. Because I mean, you can't say that Holly beat Ronda, but you can't say that. I mean, given Holly's, you look at how she fares on the ground. By the same token, you can't say that Holly is in that pound for pound conversation. All around.
I wouldn't have put Holly in there.
Right.
And Ronda, another reason I would keep Ronda far from the pound for pound is for how scared she was of giving 5 pounds up to Cyborg. She got Cyborg for 4 years or 5 years or something, and like legitimately, there are interviews in which she says, "Yeah, I'm not going to fight her, not until it's worth fighting." And then as soon as she becomes a champion, if she wants to fight me, she's got to come down. I mean, she hid from Cyborg, and I think that immediately eliminates you from pound for pound. If you're going to hide from somebody who's a 5 pound, I would say if an 85 were to hide from a heavyweight, I could forgive that. If a 25 were to hide from a 55, I could forgive that. That's a big advantage. But one weight class, that's not even a weight class. That's 5 pounds.
Right.
And I think. Yeah, so for me to get that pound for pound, you've got, and I know I'm in the minority, you got to fight out of your weight class.
Well, let's jump to then the main event, and of course, who is definitely another pound for pound. Many people say hands down pound for pound the best. Jon Jones, Ovince St. Preux, Jon.
Ounce for ounce, maybe.
Ounce for ounce.
Before anything, I'd like to point out we're probably going to see DJ move up in weight anyway. I feel like that's next for him, unification. But back to the man, back to the bones for Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
How did you see that fight going, man?
I expected a finish. I also expected a bit more action between the two. On second viewing, the scoring made a lot more sense to me. I was at a bar watching it last night, and from afar, I thought Ovince did a lot better. I actually gave him a couple of the first 2 rounds, just visually watching. Granted, there had been 2 or 3 beers involved there. It was
thank
just
God. I was about to say, it's like we got to watch that again right now.
Visually from a fan's perspective, but
Okay.
Sitting down and watching it again this afternoon, it makes sense to me. I mean, Jones absolutely had his way. The consensus seems to be that it wasn't the Jones of old, which is understandable. But there really wasn't it wasn't as close as I had hoped it would be.
I see what you mean. You know what? For me, 2 factors came into that. The first thing is, I think if he wasn't on the cover, he was certainly featured in the magazine. That rededication to like his physique, lifting weight, and how he felt more powerful. I thought, okay, so maybe not against DC, who just physically he's built differently, but I thought, okay, if we see him clinch with Ovince, we're going to see, the 23-year-old Jon Jones who used to just throw guys around if he's been lifting like
Elbows
that,
galore.
Things like that. We didn't really see that translate, so that surprised me because I felt so much had been made of it. Also, I see what you mean, I expected to finish 2, did he have to, he won the fight easily. But he didn't have to get out of second gear, and to be honest, OSP didn't force him to. Jones was never in any trouble. OSP, Kevin Iole said it very well that it looked like OSP's only goal was to survive 5 rounds with Jones after a while. I don't like how he just seemed to give up the second he was on his back. It was like if Jones wanted to choke him out.
Takedown happened in the 3rd or 4th, didn't it?
Still, I don't know, maybe Sam could speak to it, but there are some guys I feel like you almost can't see them quit when you watch it back. And I felt like OSP, all he did was cover up. He didn't really fight against any hands. He didn't really improve position. It looked like he was almost waiting to see, like, what, if he goes for the choke or something, or if he tries to take the arm, I'm probably ready to call it a night. That's just, I want to see more desperation out of OSP. especially in the later rounds, at least to defend. And it didn't seem like he really wanted to offer that. And I think, Jones, he knew a title shot was on the line. He probably didn't feel he had to take too many risks in order to win, so play it safe. He gets his big payday against DC either way.
What's your take on, I know you didn't see the match, Sam, but you fought at 205 yourself, correct?
Oh, yeah. I want to say most of my fights today have been at 205.
Okay. What's your take on light heavyweight division in general now?
I'm excited by a lot of matchups. I think Jones takes his title back. I think it's easy. But I do think Anthony Johnson beats Jones.
Interesting.
And it comes down to, again, Jones doesn't like getting hit. I think Jones's biggest asset is his range. He has got the longest range in the UFC, and nobody can get close to him. I mean, the first time DC fought him, DC couldn't get close to him. Jones wanted to take DC down, and so Jones did it, which is why I put the money on OSP. I thought OSP's at 80 inches, I think, where Jones is 85 or something. I thought maybe he'd be able to catch him. He didn't. But then Anthony Johnson is at like 73. He's like an inch shorter than Jones. And Anthony Johnson hits like a truck. Anthony Johnson, he has got more power in one punch than Jones has ever thrown. And I think if he fights to land that punch, I think Johnson can win. And if Johnson wins that opens up the division again. I think Jones, of course, gets an immediate rematch. But I think I like the 205 division because it's a bunch of guys that can knock each other out. Yeah.
Do you think that we end up seeing Jones versus DC at UFC 200? That was the goal.
DC will be ready. I hope so. I need something to get excited about. Although I wouldn't really be excited about that fight either. It's another rematch.
Jones versus DC? Not tapping your toes?
I would be more excited about that than any other fight.
Right.
But it's still not. So far, UFC 200 is nothing compared to UFC 100.
I want to talk about, I'm going to put a cork on that one and get into the politics of UFC 200. But first, guys, I want to tell you guys about DraftKings.com, which has opened up their curriculum of sports, shall we say, from basketball, baseball, soccer, and, of course, MMA. Now introducing golf. You can play week-long tournaments or week-long fantasy golf. Tournaments are going on, I believe, going forward now. You just log on there, pick 6 golfers, and you basically earn points based on staying under the salary cap, racking up points for streaks, per hole performance, tournament finishes, I suppose perhaps birdies, and also avoiding the sand traps and what's some other golf jargon?
The water.
Avoiding the water, absolutely, too. Go ahead, log on to DraftKings.com, and be sure to use the promo code BUZZ. You get to play for free. Cash prizes are involved, so some good cha-ching there. DraftKings.com, and make sure you use the promo code BUZZ, B-U-Z-Z. So, that out of the way, let's talk about the future here. A whole lot... I was worried about how we were going to attack this show this week because... This card that we had here...
it was almost overshadowed by the news.
The news itself?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's massive. And then, of course, our guy Smiling Sam, which I want to run a clip real quick in a minute talking about his fight. Well, let's just run it now. Sam, you don't know this is coming, but you'll recognize it all. Go ahead there.
Okay.
Get out of here! Yes, hello. Elias Theodore residence. Yes, he's speaking. Oh, hi, Joe. Yes. No. I was just working out. I was getting boof. Just working out, staying in shape. Yeah. Oh, no, Joe. No, I told you. I don't care if he's been calling me out for the last year and a half. I won't fight him. I just won't do it. No. No, Joe. No, Joe. No. Okay, Joe. All right. Fine. I'll fight him. But I'm not happy about it.
Keep going, Elias. You've got this. You've got this. Push through it. Un, dos, trois, quattro, five. Keep going. Keep going. Feel the burn, Elias.
Oh, I can't do it, Coach. I can't do it anymore.
Stop. Calm down. You are Elias Theodoro. Now chin up.
It's so tough. The punches are coming from every direction. Oh, and the light's getting in my eyes.
Calm down. Calm down. You look great. You look great.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Oh, I couldn't do it without you. Oh, it's ridiculous, Coach.
Keep quiet. Pucker out. Now go get him, champ.
Okay.
Because I'm happy.
That's great. But I got a big question after watching that one.
Sam, yeah, hype videos for your match against Elias. God, that really is a good head of hair, though. Look at that. You can't knock the hustle there. And I know you can't see it right now, but we even used that one that still shot that I believe, I'm guessing McKee or somebody recreated, that's got your smiling face over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That picture was all Brit.
So that, just brilliant, fun, silly little stuff that you're putting out there, that when we talk about hype, we've gotten into this kind of ditch, this rut constantly of Diaz McGregor shit talking and back and forth, that kind of thing. This didn't take long. This was you had a funny idea, you grabbed a wig and you shot it with an iPhone and put it up there, and it's easy to do. It's the creativity. Tell us where that came from.
Well, you know, it all started about a year and a half ago. I beat Daniel Kelly over in Australia. I grabbed the microphone and said, Elias Theodoro, I'm coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm knocking out tough guys, and you're a pretty tough guy. So let's do it. And he immediately said no. He said, no, I'm not fighting you. You're only called me out because you're going to make a name for yourself. He said, and then we did a little interview at some point on a podcast. And again, he said, nope, not fighting you. You're not worth it. You're not worth my time. And then I lost a fight, and he said, see, he couldn't even beat him. What chance did he have on me? Then he lost a fight. He can't say no anymore. So I just gotta, I figured, you know what? He does have a good head of hair. So I went out and I bought a wig, and I've just been having some fun with it. I've got a mess of them planned up in my head. Just
Nice.
the next, I've got 7 weeks to kill with them, so I'm trying to space them out enough.
Well, I love it, Sam. You know what? Look, let's be honest. Not everyone is going to say the biggest soundbite in the MMA world like a Conor McGregor. So I love just how original we're seeing all your stuff. My question, man. So you fought the Tough Brazil winner in Brazil. You're going to Canada to face Theodoro.
The Canadian.
The Canadian tough winner. Okay, I gotta know, we hear it all the time on the broadcast, you know, the Brazilian fans, that Brazilian crowd, there's just nothing like it in the sport. I want you to talk about that. What's it like, and how do you think it's preparing you to face Theodoro in Canada?
You got to remember, I fought in Canada like 7 times or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When I was at the MFC, I believe I had 5 fights, and I fought up there once or twice before even. I love the Canadian fans. They're such intelligent fans.
Yeah.
They have their favorites because you have to have your favorite. And I'm sure I won't get at the beginning of the fight. I'm sure I won't get cheered as loud as he does. But come the end of the fight, they're going to be chanting my name. They're going to be happy I'm getting my hand raised, and they're going to be maybe not happy that he's waking up, but they're going to be happy that I'm getting my hand raised.
They'll be happy to have seen a great match, because guaranteed that's you're going to bring the action, obviously. And
Yeah, this is the longest layoff of my career.
Yeah.
I need money. I'm gonna win me a bonus. So, Elias, get your ass in shape, because I need $50,000 and you're gonna help me get it.
So safe to say you're predicting the first round KO? Get that money real quick?
I never predict first round. It's funny. I always say I'm a slow starter, and then if you look at my record, I have like 9 or 10 first-round knockouts and 2 first-round submissions.
So you're lying to yourself.
I never I never like betting on the first round, but I'm going for broke. I'm going to impress a lot of people with this fight.
Well, all of this leading up to this is, of course, happening June 18th in Ottawa. I believe it's on. It's a fight night, so it'll be on Fox Sports 1, I believe. Correct?
Yep. And a main card too.
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, what a main card to be on. McDonald versus Wonder Boy, Cowboy versus Cote. It's just a cool card.
I believe this is one of the last ones. There may be another card right before UFC, right before the big fight weekend,
for 200.
international fight weekend, leading up to UFC 200. They've got two cards happening right before that, just back to back fight cards. Okay, so UFC 200. The shit hit the fan in more ways than one this week with it. Sam, did you follow all the silliness that went on?
I sure did.
Okay, let's break it down real quick, and then we'll get into it. Tuesday, today is Sunday the 24th, so the previous Tuesday, Conor sends out a tweet saying, "I'm retired." Everyone in the MMA world flips their wig. I don't think anyone really believes it, but they wonder what's going on. The next day, or maybe later that day, I think.
Later that day.
Yeah. Dana announces that they're pulling Conor from UFC 200, and the story gets even deeper. After a day or two, more things start to come out, trying to figure out what's going on here. Both sides agree that it happens to be, it's about promoting schedule. Conor being in Iceland and wanting to continue training, not wanting to fly out to the U.S. here to attend the press conference.
The Las Vegas one.
Yeah, the Las Vegas one.
Which was a big deal.
Which had everybody there, including Nate Diaz. And then on on his social media, on Facebook, saying that he was doing this because he didn't want to he didn't want to break camp. He's done a lot for the company and made his made money for them. He deserves some kind of a special break like this.
You know what? Okay,
They've officially said that Conor is definitely not on it, but he rescinds his retirement. They've officially said he's definitely not off the show.
First off, I think if you actually believe that he was going to retire at 27 with that many paydays ahead of him, I'm sorry, you had something weird in your coffee. I think, to break it down really quick, we talked about it last week. They're trying to use this boxing model with Conor, and it's just watering down the divisions.
What is the boxing model? What do you mean?
Where, like when we had Mayweather-Pacquiao, it didn't matter what specific weight class, because there's about like 10 within about as many pounds. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Same thing with Conor. It's even if it's not for the title, he's the showcase fight, but it's watering down the value of the titles in those divisions. Let's say he beats Diaz. Suddenly, the fight to make at 170 is probably McGregor-Lawler. Suddenly, the big fight that would be for Dos Anjos' career would be...
You mean going forward? I mean, he's not on 200, though. What does it matter?
He's most likely going to get that fight anyway.
You think he's going to come back? Okay,
I'll make the prediction right now. McGregor ends up back on UFC 200.
Okay.
I believe so.
Interesting, because in all of this, right now as it stands...
It's too big a payday. Too much money.
Okay, I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. Too much money left on the table for all parties all around. Yes. Although they do seem very adamant about it. Although Nate said that he was definitely not going to fight if he didn't get to fight Conor. Granted, that's what Nate says, and Nate says... I don't think Nate knows sometimes what's coming out of his mouth. He's been fantastic in interviews since the last McGregor fight. We've seen a new side of him, but the rest of the time it's kind of like Mickey Rourke deciding to improv his dialogue.
He's decided, he decided to retire too after McGregor's statement.
Yeah, exactly my point. What the hell does that mean? Yeah. But now it's been openly talked about the Jon Jones coming, presuming he comes out unscathed and healthy after last night's match, and if Daniel Cormier gets the okay to train from his doctor starting tomorrow, that we could be looking at Cormier versus Jones UFC 200 as the main event, which would still keep it three 5-round matches, 3 title matches. What happens if they bring back Conor? I think that, I guess I'm thinking out loud, if you can stick DC and Jones on 200, it's the UFC being able to drive home their point and say, no, dude, you mess with our schedule, you don't do what we want you to do, then you're definitely still off the card.
It turns out we don't need you as big of a deal as you may be.
Right.
You know what? I think that goes down to it. look, DC and Jones. Obviously, Jones is a special talent to watch. You know, we've seen that for many years. But there's just that buzz lately that Conor McGregor brings. I feel like that's one of those things that, you know what, you can't replace, you can't replicate it. Once again, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to salvage and redo some kind of commercial. But I do predict Conor McGregor makes it back. Because think about it, as much money as he brings in, and he's got probably, I would gamble, one of the biggest revenue cuts for the pay-per-view out of any of the stars of the UFC.
So, yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, give it some time. Him and Dana, they get on the phone and, you know, he does that thing where, Dana, I got the glove in the left hand, the plane ticket in the right hand, put me back on 200. And Dana White says, yeah, let's make that money.
Smiling Sam, what's your take on all this?
I'm kind of happy he's off the card, and I hope Dana doesn't fold to him. I don't understand why Conor would kick the hand that's been protecting him for so long. Yeah, and I just don't get that. But that he did. I hope Dana sticks to his guns. I hope Dana keeps him off the card, because you know what, UFC 100 was great. I could probably list everyone on that main card. UFC 101, couldn't tell you a person. And UFC 200 is going to be the same way, even though right now I don't think it's that great of a card. Their fight, I'll watch it because I'm a fight fan, and there's some big fights, but I'm Frankie Edgar versus Aldo 2 for an interim title. It's not UFC 200 level, at least I wouldn't think it is. DC versus Jones 2, again, it's a good fight, but it's not UFC 200 level. You know what surprised me, and it's getting off point a little bit, but Cyborg's coming to 199. Why wouldn't they put Cyborg on 200?
It's a good point.
I couldn't believe they put it at 99. This girl that Ronda's been running from for so long finally finds a match that'll give her 5 pounds.
I'm guessing they think that she means more in Brazil than she does here, which is debatable, but I could kind of agree with. I mean, UFC 198 in Brazil is just stupid stacked with Brazil. When you talk about Brazil versus the world, as they try to book these international shows, you know, whatever the home country is versus everybody else, this is probably one of the most exciting cards I've seen them do of that style.
Besides Dos Anjos, they have pretty much every big name Brazilian star on the roster fighting that night. I think, you know, as far as why is Cyborg in Brazil instead of 200, I think because at the end of the day, they know that they're not going to get the Cyborg Ronda fight. They know that they could put more butts in the seats, putting Cyborg on the card in Brazil. So I think that's what they're going with.
Well, that said, though, she's sold out shows here at Invicta as well in Southern California.
Different
last
size
time.
arena.
Yeah, very true, very true. But
I wouldn't put Cyborg as the main event, but put her in the first fight at the main card. I mean, it would. I think it would be a surprise. Yeah. It wouldn't be a rematch.
I think she's probably third. I think probably fourth from the top, actually.
Yeah. Which is about the first on the card anyway. First on the main card.
Second or third on the main card. But we're going to wrap things up here. Smiling Sam, congratulations and thank you again for coming on the show. Congratulations to your guy Jordan last night, and keep it going with the videos. We're looking forward to more. When can we tell us about your social video or social media, and when we can start to see some new videos? Where should we look for them?
Yeah, hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Smiling Sam on everything. At Smiling Sam, Instagram, Twitter. I've got Smiling Sam Professional Athlete is my fan page, and that's where I post the stuff. If you guys follow me on there, I won't let you down. I promise. I'm gonna keep them coming. I've got some good ideas. I've been working on my breakdancing just for one of these specific movies. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, I am not much of a breakdancer.
Why do I believe you?
Now, line dancing, you want to see some boots kicking.
That might actually be safer for the sanctity of the match itself. Just going to put that out there. One-man line dancing. Gigi, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, good night, guys. You guys can find me on Twitter all the time at Double G on TV.
And I'm JTan716 all over the internet. Smiling Sam, thanks a lot. Again, hope to see you before too long, man. I think we lost him. All right, then. All right, guys, get out of here. Tired of looking at you.
Good night, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.